Greetings and welcome to the first inaugural broadcast of Your Relational Life. I'm your host and teacher, Dr. Thompson. And we are going to start our first series with a very interesting topic: living purposefully. Now, we've all heard a whole lot about this word purpose. But in these teachings, we're going to be examining this very intimately and closely because we want you to live your best life now. And in order for that to happen, you've got to live with purpose. Living purposefully means that you are extremely clear, no doubt, as to why you are here on planet Earth. When we don't live with purpose, we are confused. When we are confused, we are uncertain. And when we become uncertain, we make poor choices. Now, the Master has this to say: Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in good health, even as thy soul prospereth. And so it is the will of God for each and every one of you out there to prosper. But in order for you to prosper, it is imperative that you first of all be in good health. Now, we're going to take a look at all of these dimensions, and we want to lay a very strong foundation that we are going to build upon. Firstly, to live with purpose is to live with a clear understanding as to who we are as individuals. Now, that may sound strange to some, but there are countless millions of persons out there who are not clear as to who they are. And when you are not clear as to who you are, that creates a tremendous amount of internal stress, internal frustration. But those that live with purpose are very clear as to who they are. Secondly, when you live with purpose, you know and you understand that there is a specific place, purpose, and an assignment that leads to a destiny for your life. When you do not live with purpose, you do not understand who you are, you do not know where you should be. As a result, you do not know what your purpose and your destiny is. And I can tell you, as a mental health professional, not knowing this can be mentally and emotionally debilitating. Why? Thank you for asking. An individual can never truly be satisfied until his or her purpose is fully realized. Many countless individuals have gone after numerous things and they were able to achieve some level of happiness. But you see, living with purpose goes much deeper than that. When you live with purpose, you have an innate understanding that you have a God-given right to exist, to be here on this planet at this particular time, to fulfill your purpose, your calling, your assignment. Having that kind of understanding gives an individual the right to pursue, the courage to reach forth, the determination to accomplish. Not knowing this is like sitting in a deep, dark, void place without light. And so you end up being someone that is simply tossed to and fro, and you lack clarity, and as a result of this, you become reckless with your choices in life. When we look at humanity today, we can see that humanity is struggling. When you look at how we treat one another, when you look at how we speak to one another and about one another, it is very clear that we truly do not understand our purpose. It's a serious thing to be pursuing something and not get deep satisfaction. As we can see from time to time, headlines that shock us, because the world says success is getting your name out there. And so recently we've had some individuals who have gotten their names out there. As a matter of fact, they have done so well that we have called them stars. We've called them successful. But when you look at the conclusion of their life story and the manner in which it had ended, it is clear that something was missing. It is the desire of this program to fill in those little gaps and voids so that all individuals everywhere that desire to live a meaningful life can do it. And I know that you can do it, but we simply have got to do it the right way. Now, something very important to understand here. You are not an accident. We, human beings on the planet, we are not accidents. It is critically important to understand this, because purpose and accidents cannot dwell in the same space at the same time. You see, an accident is something that was not planned. An accident is something that happens out of the blue. But Dr. Thompson is saying to you, you are not an accident. Now, because we've been given an awesome responsibility by the Creator of mankind to play a role in the process of human growth and development, we sometimes get our timing wrong. But what I want you to know and understand, you may get your timing wrong, but according to the architect of the universe, you are not an accident. And so it's imperative that you conceptualize this point. Some may say, well, Dr. Thompson, my mother told me that I was not planned to come at the time that I did. That does not make you an accident in the overall plan of God. What it reveals is there may have been a little bit of rush and hesitation on the part of your parents. But God knew you before you were born. Therefore, you are not an accident. Bertrand Russell, a well-known atheist, had this to say, and I quote, "Unless you assume a God, the question of life's purpose is meaningless," end quote. Now, this is a renowned atheist. In the summation of the question of life and purpose, says that unless we as individuals assume there is a God, this whole question, this search of life's purpose is meaningless. I believe that the principal reason why so many persons in our world today are deeply puzzled, discouraged, frustrated, depressed, and hopeless has to do with the fact that they do not understand the correct starting point. You see, if purpose has to start with you as an individual, I am so sorry to have to tell you, you're at the wrong starting point. And if you are going to end your story right, it is imperative that you start your story correctly. Many persons have become so hopeless because they are starting with their individual selves. But if you were to start with yourself, that makes the assumption that you understand the big picture of life. And the truth of the matter is, we do not. It is imperative then that we understand every single thing has its beginning and its ending with God. Colossians chapter 1, verse 16. For by him were all things created, that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions, or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him. And verse 17 goes on to say, and he is before all things, and by him all things consist. And so if you are going to fulfill your purpose, if you are going to live a life that is rich and fulfilling, it is imperative that you come to know and understand you are not an accident, because you were created in the image and after the likeness of God. For by him were all things created, the things that you can see and the things that you cannot see. And so purpose has its beginning in the creator of all mankind. This is good news. Why is that? Thank you for asking. This is good news because if your purpose was placed in the hand of man, the vast majority of us will never get an opportunity to fulfill our purpose. But because our purpose is in the hand of the just creator of the universe, we have an opportunity to capitalize on this revelation and begin the process of living a life that is rich, that is meaningful, that is rewarding, and that is fulfilling. And you know what's interesting? Many persons out there will have you to think and to feel that God is out of date, that God is only concerned about one part of the equation. That is not so. God wants to grant you good success, and He wants you to prosper. But prosperity begins with understanding, and understanding begins with knowing who you are. And in knowing who you are as a person, you will get the opportunity to discover your purpose. It is then when you begin to fulfill your purpose that you then will be granted the desires of your heart. So in the journey of purpose, it is a win-win situation. God gets the glory out of your life because you are fulfilling His will. And because of His merciful kindness towards us, He grants us the desires of our heart, that some of the things we would like to accomplish, we also get the opportunity to pursue those things whilst we are fulfilling our purpose in God. Man, isn't that awesome? That is a beautiful thing. And it's imperative for us then to get to the right starting point. Now, since our purpose begins with God, we need to understand then, how is it that we are made? You and I are designed as relational beings. Make no mistake about that. We are designed as relational beings. And so God is a God of relationships. And that is the reason why this program is coming to you now. Because Dr. Thompson has been called and chosen of God to make the connection between us and our Creator, to understand the importance of relationships. Relationships are the key to life, full stop. And if we are relational beings, we must understand then that we must be in a healthy relationship in every sector of our life. Oh boy, what do you mean by that? Yes, our existence cannot be maximized unless we are relating in a healthy manner. This is why then many of us do not have a healthy existence, because we are not acknowledging the fact that we are relational beings. And because of this, we are very reckless in how we speak to and relate to one another. Your peace of mind is tied to the fact that you are a relational being. And these are core needs. And it's important to understand this. Needs are something that you cannot live without. Wants are the things that we can live without. And so you are a relational being at the core. Therefore, you cannot live without relating. You were born by the purpose of God, and so your purpose is in Him who is the creator of both the heavens and the earth. Therefore, we need to understand the design of God in order for us to maximize its potential. So to live purposely then necessitates that we have good health. Oh yes, let's don't get mixed up here, my brother. Let's don't get mixed up here, my sister. To live purposefully necessitates that we have good health. And the human mind is central to good health. Without a healthy mind, you do not know who you are. You can have a good physique, but if you do not possess a healthy mind, you do not know who you are. Without a healthy mind, you cannot make sensible choices. And so one of the reasons why our marriages, our relationships with our children, our relationships with our extended family, our relationships within the kingdom, our relationships in our communities, they are damaged because many individuals are not healthy. It is imperative that you recognize the importance of having a healthy mind. Not a dirty mind, a healthy mind. You see, when your mind is not healthy, it means that you are not using it as it was designed to be used. When your mind is not healthy, you think in corrupt ways. When your mind is not healthy, you think firstly and only about yourself. When your mind is not healthy, you have no moral compass. And so there are countless millions of individuals walking to and fro the earth. They look like they are okay. But when you see the manifestation of their speech, their choices, and their behaviors, then it becomes abundantly clear that something is wrong. One of the things that keeps us functional is relational connections. Since we are one part spirit, one part mental, and one part physical, human beings need to relate on all three levels. Let me make this clear. If you can only relate on one of those levels, you are not well. And that is not a good place for you to be. We must recognize that man at the core is a spiritual being. And when God created man as a perfect specimen, he was lying on the ground but could not move. It was not until God breathed into him the breath of life and man became a living soul. And so man at the core then is spiritual. When core needs are not being met, we will begin to see a shift in the other parts of the being of man. We can observe this shift in Adam, the first man. Daily, Adam used to meet with God in the cool of the day in the garden of life. Through these daily encounters, Adam was given deep spiritual intimacy that satisfied his human soul. Now, what is important to note here is this: Adam's capacity to be was tied to the fact that he needed to have his spiritual relational connection done on a daily basis. When he received those deposits, that placed him in a position to then go and function in his purpose in the other areas of his life. When Adam disobeyed God and the spiritual connection was cut off, we notice the first thing that happened was Adam's thinking began to degenerate. His thoughts became corrupt and not positive. His thoughts became deceitful. Rather than come to the meeting place that was established for him and his Creator, he hid himself. He stopped being responsible. One of the key things that's damaging marriages and relationships today: people are not being responsible. They are not following through. And this is because core needs are not being met. And man must recognize and understand at the core he is a spiritual being. And it is imperative then that his spirit have a healthy relationship with its Creator. It is on this premise then that the wellness of the soul illuminates the mind to begin to function according to the purpose and the will of the Father. We will be continuing this teaching. You don't want to miss part 2. God bless you richly.